I mean, sometimes the simplest yet dumbest answer is the correct one. Nate, let's get into it. And you're starting with a player who I feel just doesn't really get the respect he deserves, despite the fact that he just got paid last year and he's pretty damn productive. Who do you got?
He sure is. Yeah. You said it's time to set lineups, Mike. When you got to set your lineup and you start to think about, okay, what's my lineup going to look like week one? Most of us usually look at our running back position and we're like, oh, crap.
Every year, every league, no matter what.
Even if I got two good starters, I'm still like, crap, I need a good third, or I need a good fourth, or something like that, because you're going to need them when you get to the season. Well, this guy can be one of your better running backs in your starting lineup week on week, but you can get him at a pretty good price right now. That's Chuba Hubbard, running back for the Carolina Panthers. Right now, keep trade cuts RB20 in the rankings, and last year finished as the running back 14. All right. As you just said, he just got signed this offseason to a long extension, under contract for 4 more years. I think it was actually last offseason. But he's making $8.3 million per year. That's pretty good for a running back these days. And his only competition in that backfield is Rico Dowdle, who everyone here knows I'm a fan of Rico, have been since before he was even in the NFL. But it's not the biggest competition in the world for a guy like Chuba Hubbard. And then Trevor Etienne is back there as well, who was a day 3 pick this year. Chuba Hubbard dominates his backfield. Last year, he was top 12 in carries and receptions. And the Panthers were 26th in runs per game, Mike. So the Panthers didn't even have that much volume to give him, and he still carried a ton of volume last year, both on the ground and through the air. I love to see that, because we always talk about how running backs who have receiving ability and are used in the receiving game are so valuable in fantasy football. Chuba is that guy while also getting a ton of carries. This is like fantasy football gold right here, and we have him at RB20. I don't get it. Last year, he averaged 16.1 points per game, which was good for RB13. And the offense this year, helmed by Bryce Young and with Ted McMillan now on the outside, is expected to take a step forward. All right. So I'm expecting better things out of last year's, this next coming year's Panthers offense compared to last year. At the end of the season, they were looking much, much better. We saw how Bryce Young looked a lot better. I was very excited about that. And Chuba Hubbard caught 43 passes last year. So like I said, he gets a lot of receiving work. In 9 of the 16 games that he was in last year, he caught at least 4 balls. So 4 receptions in 9 out of 16 games. That's really, really good as well. That's consistency, which I love at the running back position. He was also 4th among running backs with 150 plus attempts in yards after contact per attempt. This guy, it's not just, hey, you get him out there, you get some yards. No, Chuba Hubbard's actually a really good running back. He can make people miss. He can make people fall off the tackles and keep getting some extra yards. He was also 6th in runs of 15 yards or more. So this is a guy that's explosive as well. He's strong. He's explosive. A lot of people don't remember that Chuba Hubbard was actually supposed to be one of the top running backs in his draft class 2 years before his draft class.
Shouldn't have came back for that last year.
Exactly. After his junior year, he was looking really, really good. We were like, wow, Chuba Hubbard's going to be a day 2 pick. It's going to be a great NFL running back. Went back for his senior year, did not have the great year with Oklahoma State that year, and fell a little bit in the draft. So this guy's still got a lot of talent. It's not like this guy's coming out of nowhere. Outside of week 1 last year, where the Saints absolutely destroyed the Panthers and Chuba only had 6 attempts, only 2 games with less than 50 yards on the ground. So like I said, consistent. This guy scores points. He's going to be great in your starting lineup. And Mike, he's not expensive. As I said, RB20 on keep trade cut. I pulled a couple trades just straight up.
Before you get into it, I just brought up his stats from last year.
Yeah.
We got to talk about how incredible his season was on a bad team. Career high in attempts, yards, touchdowns, receptions, targets. Yeah, I mean, all career highs. And his year before that, his 2023 season was pretty good too, almost cracking 1,000 yards. Now, I will say it did tie his career low in receiving yards, still 171, but he also tied his career high in receiving touchdowns with 1. So, he gives you something in the receiving game. And for what you're about to tell me the value is, I think he's definitely someone you want to go after.
He was a bad offense and still had double-digit touchdowns on the ground. 10 touchdowns last year. Ran for almost 1,200 yards, 1,195 at 4.8 yards per carry. This guy's good. That's for sure. Cost. Zay Flowers straight up for Chuba Hubbard. If you need a running back, that's a move you should make right now. Ricky Pearsall straight up for Chuba Hubbard. If you need a running back, that's a move you should make right now.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's really going on with the
I
the
mean, to be
49ers.
fair, there's a ton of guys over there who are injured. Ricky Pearsall might be the only guy out there to catch passes outside George Kittle, but still, Chuba Hubbard. And then Mike, I saw trades like you could trade a future second and third to get Chuba Hubbard if you're getting him from a team that's not competitive right now. And I feel like that's just so cheap for a running back who is definitely going to be a top 24 running back and could even, if that offense actually does take us that forward, could be, somewhere around like RB8, RB10 on the year and be really productive for you as probably your RB2, if not RB3 on your team.
Yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. So you're thinking he can outproduce his running back 20 value right now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he can do worse than last year and still outproduce that. So, and he's
Yeah.
signed under contract for 4 years. Technically they have like an out after like this coming year, but who do they have outside of him? I mean, not anybody. It's not that Jonathan Brooks worked out. So
Let's talk about my first buy low player, and that is Buffalo Bills wide receiver Khalil Shakir. He's currently wide receiver 45 on Keep Trade Cut. That's
I
player
love this, Mike.
113 overall. Yeah, I
I
mean,
love
look,
this. I almost put Shakir on here, and then you went and put him on here. I looked at the show sheet before you got him on there. I was like, I'm gonna might do Shakir, and then I didn't, and you put him on here, so I'm glad you did.
thank you, because I love me some Khalil Shakir. All right, he was wide receiver. So look, he's been getting better every year. In 2023, he was wide receiver 61. He had 39 receptions, 611 yards, 2 touchdowns. That was 6.7 fantasy points per game in 17 games. He bumped up to wide receiver 37 in 2024. 76 receptions, 821 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's 12.2 fantasy points per game in 15 games. So he did miss a couple. Now, right now, he is dealing with a high ankle sprain, but fully expected to be ready for week 1. And Nate, the other wide receivers that are in a starting role for the Buffalo Bills, Keon Coleman and Josh Palmer. So not exactly, I mean, a lot of people like Keon Coleman. I expect to see him taking steps forward this coming year. And Josh Palmer is a guy who, I've liked for a while, but we just really haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen him do much.
No, he's been solid, but he's never been much more than that, unfortunately.
Yeah. To me, Josh Palmer is a guy that is just kind of a nice guy to have around as a bench guy that you need in a pinch, maybe
Yeah.
a flex spot fill in or an injury fill in, something like that. But he's not a guy I really feel comfortable about just throwing out there on a weekly basis unless I absolutely have to.
I think he's a better NFL player than fantasy football player. I know we say that sometimes, and some people don't like that, but I think if you're an NFL team and he's your wide receiver 3 or 4, you're pretty happy with that. He can be a
Yeah,
really good, really solid role player.
I completely agree with that. But for this aspect, you're staying on the bench, pal. So what does it cost to get a player like Khalil Shakir, who's been ascending every year the last couple years here?
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
Mike,
saying,
real quick,
yeah.
in all 3 postseason games last year for the Bills, Shakir had 6 receptions, 666. Oh, maybe we don't want to do 666, but he had 6 receptions in every single game last year in the postseason. So he was consistent. He was like Josh Allen's go-to guy in the postseason, and I have big expectations for him. So tell us the values because I like these values here.
Yeah, he's coming out of the slot. Slot wide receivers matter, man. I'm telling you. Now, this is one where it's kind of you need to diversify a little bit. Okay. If maybe you're in a little bit of a different situation, you need to sometimes to make your team better, you have to move your best asset. And that would be trading CeeDee Lamb for Khalil Shakir in a 26-second. I will put this on here because I wanted to see what you thought about it.
I don't
I
like this
personally
value.
think you get more for CeeDee Lamb than this.
Absolutely. I think for CeeDee Lamb, you're probably getting Shakir and a first and a second.
I would
I
agree
think
with
that's what the value would be for me to even really consider making that kind of trade. I think for me to move on from CeeDee Lamb, it would have to at least be Shakir and 2 firsts.
I agree. Now this one I like a 26-second straight up for Khalil Shakir.
I love that. That's
Yep.
that's the value I love, and I think that you make that move anytime you can if you need some wide receiver depth.
Yeah, and like I always say, when you trade for a wide receiver, you're also trading for that quarterback. So here's one: Josh Downs straight up for Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, I think that's a good point here because I probably lean Josh down straight up in a vacuum. But like you said, you're buying the quarterback, and I don't know what the quarterback situation is for the Colts right now.
Bad.
And I'd rather have the guy that's tied to Josh Allen, quite honestly, especially because Shakira has less target competition than Downs does. As good as Downs is, he's got Michael Pittman Jr. there. Alec Pierce is apparently continuing to impress, and he's been pretty decent at times throughout the last couple seasons. And then Adonai Mitchell too. You know, we don't know what's really going to come out of him, but he is
Tyler
talented.
Warren.
Tyler Warren there as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Shakir's got a lot less target competition.
When your starting quarterback is always on the bench in the IR, it's not
Nate,
good. Who are you getting next?
All right. Next up, I'm going back to the running back position because, hey, we need to go back to the running back. This time you're trading for an RB1, though. You're trading for Jonathan Taylor, running back for the Indianapolis Colts, who's currently a keep trade cut running back 10. All right. Finished last year as the running back 12 on the season, averaging 17.5 points per game. But Mike, over the final 4 games of the season, Jonathan Taylor averaged 156.8 yards per game. 156 yards per game over the last 4 games of the season. He averaged a touchdown and a half, and he also averaged 5.4 yards per carry. We got to see the Jonathan Taylor that we expected to see at the end of last season, and I think that will continue into this season. I know we just talked about Josh Downs and the terrible quarterback situation going on with the Colts right now and us not knowing what's going on. Anthony Richardson might be injury prone. Might be looking that way. But even if he is starting, whether or not it's him or Daniel Jones, if it's Daniel Jones, hey, we loved Jonathan Taylor here because he's going to get the ball a ton, even though Daniel Jones is a running quarterback. But Anthony Richardson, I don't think he's going to be doing a ton of designed runs if he is starting, because if he's starting, they want to see him on the field. They want to keep him on the field and see what they have with Anthony Richardson. And they know that he's gotten hurt a couple times running the ball. So they're going to keep the ball in the hands of Jonathan Taylor, I do believe. So Taylor's still going to get a ton of carries. Last year, he did have 303 carries. I expect him to be somewhere around that number again this year. He only played in 14 games last year. Relatively healthy for a running back. He's only 26 years old as well. And this is one of the more talented running backs in the NFL. I feel like we've all kind of forgotten just how good he is. He's missed a couple games. The Colts have kind of been irrelevant the past couple years. So I feel like a lot of people have just forgotten Jonathan Taylor. And him being at RB10 is pretty obvious that people have just kind of forgotten about him, because I think with how we're seeing running backs now play into the late 20s, even into their early 30s, I think Jonathan Taylor is set up physically to do that as well, and is talented enough where he can play into his late 20s. He can play for another 3 or 4 years at a high level. So I think, trading for Jonathan Taylor right now is not just a win now move where you get him for a year or two. I think you get a guy that you can rely on for another couple years after that. So I love this guy, and I think there's going to be a lot more to come this year, even though we're not expecting a ton of the Colts offense. He had a career low in receptions last year, so I expect that to go back up a little bit. He was fourth in runs of 15 yards or more in the NFL, only behind Henry, Barkley, and Gibbs. All who were tied for first, actually. So he's, like I said, he's one of the best running backs in the league. He's in the same conversation as Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Jahmyr Gibbs. And then also last year, 6 weeks with a top 12 finish, including 2 weeks as the RB1. This guy's talented. This guy's really good, and he's not expensive. I pulled up some trades from Dynasty Daddy. Caleb Johnson and Zach Charbonnet for Jonathan Taylor. Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me.
Yeah, look, I love Caleb Johnson. I'm a big fan, but we have a known commodity here in Jonathan Taylor. Also, Jonathan Taylor in 2024, a career high in yards after contact with 800. Second highest of his career, yards after contact, 813. In 2021, he had 1,272.
Yeah, and that was actually with a career low in yards after contact per attempt. And because I think that offense was so bad. Another trade here, Courtland Sutton straight up for Jonathan Taylor. If you have some tight end depth, I think that's a great move to make.
Yeah.
As much as I love Loveland. And then another trade, DJ Moore in a second for Jonathan Taylor.
So essentially, with the Courtland Sutton trade, you traded a late first in this year's draft, or maybe an early second, depending on where you drafted Courtland Sutton, for Jonathan Taylor, which I think
it's a pretty good move.
Is good than if you would have tried to just trade for him straight up before your draft, probably.
Yep.
And I like the DJ Moore in a second one as well. So, Nate, do you know what else I like?
What else do you like, Mike?
I like Fantrax. Look, we're into C2C drafts right now. Mm-hmm. Supplemental drafts, dispersal,
supplemental drafts. And I've really enjoyed using the draft room on the app.
I gotta be honest with you. I was a little frustrated at first because I was trying to drop players after the draft had already started, and I wasn't paying attention. This wasn't Fantrax's fault. This was my fault. I didn't see that you had to just go into the draft room and then you can move your guys and drop them from there. But anyway, that being said, in 2 drafts right now, and Fantrax is the most customizable fantasy platform in the industry, and they offer the greatest fantasy experience for your dynasty, keeper, redraft, and best ball leagues. You can create or join a fantasy football commissioner league, invite your friends, and dominate your draft this season. So go deep with the ultimate keeper in dynasty leagues. Create a simple redraft league, or even a customizable best ball league with up to 2,000 teams. Fantrax's free NFL fantasy football league manager is the most customizable, easy to use, and feature-rich platform in the industry. If you're coming from another service, Fantrax can easily import any of your current leagues, players, and even customize if needed. If you've ever had a trade go wrong or made a mistake in dropping a player, Fantrax commissioner tools allow you to undo any move with one simple click. And Fantrax is among the most trusted names in fantasy sports since 2008. It's not just the NFL. Baseball, basketball, hockey, college basketball, college football, golf, soccer, and NASCAR. If there's anything lacking in your current fantasy league manager, Fantrax likely has it. Fantasy sports doesn't sleep, and neither does Fantrax, with seasons running 365 days a year. There's a reason why fantasy players who try Fantrax make it the permanent home for all their fantasy leagues. So sign up today at fantrax.com/Dynasty Rewind. All right, Nate, we're going to get back into it here, and I'm going to give you my next buy low player.
Love it.
He made it work in Seattle. Let's see what he does out in Las Vegas. That is Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Geno Smith. Someone's got to check the ball down to Ashton Genty after all. And by the way, people overreacting to Ashton Genty's poor preseason performance, he's going to be fine. We're good. Okay. So he's quarterback 29 currently, which is player 142. In 2023, however, he was quarterback 19, 15 games, 15.8 fantasy points per game. And in 2024, he was quarterback 13 in 17 games, 16.5 fantasy points per game. So check this out, Nate. Okay. And this is why one of the things I always say is don't overlook or don't overthink a player's name. I'm going to tell you why. In 2024, on a per game basis, he outscored Caleb Williams, who had 15.3. Remember, this is someone that a lot of people heralded as a generational talent, and I'm not saying he's not going to be. I'm just telling you there's value here. Jordan Love, 16.3 fantasy points per game, and CJ Stroud, who I'm expecting to have a bounce back year, by the way, 13.7 fantasy points per game, all compared to Geno's 16.5. And the Vegas wide receiver room isn't the most elite, but Geno is a vet. He can spread the ball around, and they have Brock Bowers. He's going to make a fantastic quarterback, too, for a contending team. And Nate, you have thoughts.
I do. I love this, Mike. And I just pulled up on PFF their passing grades because I noticed Geno Smith had a pretty good passing grade last year. And he's actually had a really good passing grade for the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years, according to PFF. And I pulled up the positional ranks. He's ranked 10th among all quarterbacks in PFF grades for passing. He's actually tied with Baker Mayfield, okay, who just had an incredible year last year, right? All right, let me give you Baker Mayfield's stats compared to Geno Smith's stats, because I think if you asked anyone straight up, who would you rather have for fantasy football, they'd say Baker Mayfield.
Most people would.
Most people would, as would I, to be clear. But listen to just how close these stats are. Baker Mayfield had 570 attempts last year. Geno Smith had 578. Baker Mayfield had 407 completions. Geno Smith had 407 completions. Baker Mayfield had a 71.4% completion rate. Geno Smith a 70.4 completion rate. Baker Mayfield threw for 4,500 yards. Geno Smith threw for 4,320. So all of these are really, really comparable so far. And Baker Mayfield's yards per attempt, 7.9. Geno's 7.5. Here's the big difference between the two players last year. Baker Mayfield threw for 41 touchdowns. Geno Smith threw for 21. Baker Mayfield had 16 interceptions. Geno had 15. So outside of touchdowns, very, very comparable between these two players. And as we know, touchdowns are not a very sticky stat season over season. Baker Mayfield's touchdown rate actually last year was a career high by far. So I don't expect that to continue. I think, he'll still be pretty good this year. I expect, 30 touchdowns or so, but I don't expect him to throw 41 again. And I think Geno's was a little low. So, I think Geno in this new situation, a better situation, I think, for that offense than he was in Seattle. I think we can see Geno get up close to 30. So I think, people are sleeping on Geno for whatever reason, but, much more comparable to Baker Mayfield, I think, than a lot of people would expect.
Yeah. I agree. And like I said, I want him to be your quarterback 2 on your team, not your quarterback 1. So Hey, if you can get a quarterback room of Baker and Geno, you'll be doing pretty good.
Yeah,
But what does it cost to get Geno Smith, who it sounds like Nate, you and I are both fairly high on for
we are.
this year? Brock Purdy for Geno Smith, a 26-second and a 28-second.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll
The
get
only thing
the
is, I wish that second pick wasn't so far away, but you know,
yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, I think, obviously I'd rather have Brock Purdy straight up than Geno, but the 49ers are scaring me, honestly. I
really
don't know
banged up.
what's going on with yeah, they've always really banged up.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like Brock Purdy, but he does kind of seem like a sum of many parts. And if all those parts are injured, then he can only do so much.
Yeah. What about this one? Michael Penix and Rashee Rice for Geno Smith and Nico Collins.
Oh yeah, give me Geno Smith and Nico Collins. Honestly, the upgrade to Nico Collins trumps anything in this trade for me. That's who I really want. I would probably do Michael Penix and Rashee Rice almost straight up for Nico Collins, almost.
Yeah.
So give me Geno on top. I'm not a huge fan of Michael Penix. I think he'll probably have a decent year, but I don't know how I feel about him long term yet. So with that being an unknown for me, I'll take Geno Smith, maybe a slight downgrade from Penix, who knows, more or similar, and get the upgrade with Nico Collins.
And to let everyone know, my trades are all courtesy of Fantasy Calc. So these are real trades that happened. I'm not making this stuff up. And the last one, Anthony Richardson and a 26th fourth for Geno Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really want Richardson.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah.
All right, Nate, you got one more, and then I'll close it out. What do you got?
All
for
right.
us?
The guy that I say we should buy low on every single year, and that is Rayne, Dakota, Prescott.
Going to be seeing the Rams in the NFC Championship game. I hope you guys have tickets for it. I know they could afford it, but go on.
He's currently the quarterback 21 on Keep Trade Cut, and I don't really get it. I know he was injured at the end of last season. He missed over half the season last year. I get it. So, he hasn't been fresh in our minds last year, but he's got a pretty good supporting cast. Remember, they traded for George Pickens. So you got CeeDee Lamb, who is projected to be the wide receiver 3 this year. You got George Pickens, who's projected to be the wide receiver 29 this year. And you got Jake Ferguson, who they just signed to an extension, who's projected to be the tight end 16, which I think is a little low projection for Jake Ferguson. And that's according to Fantasy Pros and the site Composite they do, where they take projections from ESPN, Yahoo, a couple different sites. And do you think that the Cowboys are going to have a strong running game this year, Mike?
I think they're really trying to cobble something together down there,
Yeah.
but the thing that frustrates me is you get Javonte Williams in there, you got Miles Sanders in there. Najee Harris was a free agent. I would have taken one Najee Harris over the sum of all the parts there.
Harris was going to be a Cowboy. I really did.
It would have made perfect sense. But we also
would've.
thought that Zach Moss was going to be a Cowboy, I think last year or the year before too. So
we did.
Here we are.
And Sanders and Jaden Blue have also both been injured. So it looks like Javonte Williams will probably be the RB1 there if anyone's trying to trade for him anytime soon. So it sounds like they're going to be passing the ball quite a bit, which the Cowboys have done quite a lot over the past couple of years. Don't forget, because I think a lot of people have, Dak Prescott was the quarterback 3 in 2023, averaging 20.7 points per game.
Yeah.
This guy can sling the rock. And last year, in the 7 weeks that he played before his injury, he was second in the NFL in pass attempts, third in passing yards. Okay? So he was slinging the rock last year as well, and now he's got George Pickens to throw it to as well. Last year, he also, in those 7 games, had a career low touchdown percentage. So I'm expecting some positive regression there. Last year, at a 3.8% touchdown percentage, and his career average is 5.1. So, it was pretty low. So that offense is going to look better this year. That's for sure. So Dak Prescott's a great bounce back candidate. And, he's pretty affordable right now at quarterback 21. You can trade a future first for him. Mike, I saw a couple trades where people are sending seconds for him. It's ridiculous. I don't think you can actually really do that, but hey, maybe, who knows?
No,
I don't think
maybe
you can.
in a one quarterback league, but
some people apparently did. I don't know what kind of leagues they're playing in. I think you got to throw a first out there, but not much more than that, most likely, if you're getting it from someone who's not a contender.
Yeah.
You can trade Michael Penix Jr. for Dak Prescott. You might be able to get a third back, something like throw in player on, because Penix is a little bit ranked higher and he's a little bit younger. People are excited about the Falcons. You could trade Tua or Darnold. Maybe you got to throw a second in there. to get Dak Prescott. Maybe not. Depends on what people think about Tua, probably with Darnold, though. And then another player that I guess I'm just trying to get rid of is Caleb Johnson or Ricky Pearsall. Both these guys I mentioned earlier. Both those guys could also be traded straight up for Dak Prescott from what I saw.
And in Dak's 2023 season, he also led the NFL in touchdown passes with 36 and with completions of 410. And he led the NFL in the longest pass of the year with 92 yards. I know a lot of that is on the receiver as well, but he still did it. One other thing on Pro Football Reference, I'm going to need some Cowboys fans to chime in here. It says his nickname is the Fortress. I've never heard that before. Can you guys just put in the comments somewhere whether or not that's true?
Dak the Fortress.
Yeah.
Prescott.
Also, I mean, if that's true, like, come on, Cowboys fans, you gotta be a little more creative than that. Yeah, I don't know, but
I gotta find this out real quick.
It's on Pro Football Reference. Well, I'll tell you what, while you're researching that, we can always come back to it. And I'm going to tell you why I think you should buy Courtland Sutton, who on Keep Trade Cut is currently wide receiver 34. This is criminally underrated. He's player 92 overall. Now, check this out, Nate. In 2023, when Russell Wilson and Jarrett Stidham were the starting quarterbacks for the Denver Broncos, he was wide receiver 35. He had 59 receptions for 772 yards and 10 touchdowns. And in 16 games, he averaged 11.9 fantasy points per game. Last year, with Bo Nix, who you are a big fan of,
I am.
he was wide receiver 15, 81 receptions, 1,081 yards, 8 touchdowns, and in 17 games, he averaged 14.1 fantasy points per game. It was his first 1,000-yard season since 2019 and second overall. He just got a 4-year, $92 million contract extension. And his 14.1 fantasy points per game outscored on a per game basis guys that are valued higher than him. Tyreek Hill had 12.8. Zay Flowers had 12.3. Jaden Reed and Marvin Harrison both had 11.6 fantasy points per game. So there's value to be had here. Any update on the Fortress, Nate?
Yes.
Okay,
it's not honestly a great explanation.
Okay.
But apparently, back in the day when Dak Prescott was at Mississippi State, there was a blog post where they talked about giving new SEC stars new nicknames. And this one blog post apparently said that Dak Prescott, who was a rising talent at Mississippi State, this senior quarterback protects his team as an impenetrable force on offense, capable of withstanding an opponent's best shot. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Then here's an assignment for the Cowboys fans listening. Come up with something better for Dak, because I think he's deserving of a nickname better than the Fortress. And also, that's from his college time. Like, we got to do something better there.
It doesn't make sense to be called the Fortress and be a quarterback.
Like, yeah, if you're an offensive lineman,
sure.
Yeah, I get it.
Quarterback,
but no,
come on,
no. Unless you're Jamarcus Russell, because then you're as big as a Fortress. But anyway, what does it cost to get Courtland Sutton? How about Colston Loveland and a 27 third?
Man, I feel like you get the third on the Sutton side.
You think what?
I think you get the third on the Sutton side. I think Loveland's higher ranked than Sutton. I think
I would
Sutton's
agree.
underappreciated, so I think Loveland's a bit higher ranked than him.
Yep, I agree. But I wanted your thoughts on this one. Here's one that's from a league that has not had their rookie draft yet. The 25-401 and a 26 second for Sutton.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. It's basically just a second.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that.
Tyreek Hill straight up.
Ooh, give me Tyreek Hill, I think. Give me
the
shot at the upside there. I know he's a little bit older, but it's not like Sutton's that young either. So
I know. I've always been such a Courtland Sutton fan that I'm gonna slightly lean Sutton.
I don't hate that at all.
If it was like Tyreek Hill for Sutton in a third, then I'm gonna say give me the Sutton side, hands down.
Sure.
But I'm still slightly leaning Sutton on this one. The 25-201.
Yeah. I think that's fine. Either way.
And
depends on who's there.
I saw this trade on Fantasy Calc, and I needed your thoughts on this one because I really don't know what to think about it. Jadon Blue and Tank Dell for Tyler Warren and Courtland Sutton.
It's ridiculous. See, some of these trades I see on Dynasty Daddy or you see on Fantasy Calc, it's like, what are these people doing? What leagues are these people in where someone can trade Tank Dell and Jadon Blue for Tyler Warren and Courtland Sutton? Like, someone just needs that person so badly.
I guarantee when this trade went through, there was some commotion in that league chat.
they wanted to start. They were like, should we start vetoing trades? And I'm pretty anti-veto, but this one would test me.
Me too. And just so you guys know, when I pick out trades to put on here, and I'm sure Nate does the same thing, haven't really discussed it. I try to pick out ones that I think are very fair, or at least ones that are going to make you think about it. Like, oh, okay, let's talk about it. So it's my thoughts.
This one's not one of those. This is like someone who doesn't know how to play fantasy football is in your league. So.
Yeah. But that's all we got for you. Make sure you're checking out dynastyrewind.com for up-to-date rankings, articles, get some merch, all that good stuff for your rookie draft that's coming up. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/dynastyrewind. Got, we got a group chat in there, got some exclusive podcasts, all that good stuff. And until next time, everybody, for Nate, I'm Mike. Thank you for listening.